tell you how, in a big breaking news which is coming in, a major blow to tall claims of Nawaz Sharif government with respect to the crackdown on terrorist groups. Well, Pakistan Interior Ministry has released a progress report on the implementation of the National Action Plan, or the NAP. In fact, the authorities by Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar, who faces increasing criticism for the government's inaction in curbing militancy in the country. The report states that NAP has not been able to stop the re-emergence of old terror organizations under new names. Well, the report also lays bare the fact that Pakistan has failed to effectively block financial support for the terrorists and terrorist organizations. Well, that's the big breaking news that we are getting for you. Let's go across to Ashish Singh, our Assistant Editor of Defence, who joins us with more on this. This is essentially vindication, Ashish, of what India has been saying all along, that Pakistan continues to harbour and even fund terror.
That's right, Meghna. There cannot have been a better proof or a stronger proof than Pakistan's own Interior Ministry's report. Yesterday, the Pakistan's Interior Ministry released a progress report on the implementation of the NAP, that's National Action Plan, in 2016, in which they have clearly admitted at least two big facts. One, that NAP was unable to effectively block financial support to terrorists and terrorist organizations. The report has also mentioned that the way militancy has been growing in Balochistan and a few other provinces of Pakistan, and the political reconciliation with all the stakeholders in the province is yet to be achieved. So these are the two major admissions that have been made by the National Action Plan Committee in the report. What is more, that substantiate this report is this report is authorized by the Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar. Chaudhry Nisar, remember, is someone who has been facing flack over his connections and his meeting with a lot of political and terrorist organizations who basically are anti-India and help the Pakistan-sponsored terror organizations. So looking at all these aspects, this certainly is a big admission by Pakistan. This is something what India has been maintaining for decades, has been submitting a lot of dossiers, but Pakistan has always been refusing. Now this report, the internal report, which is authorized by the Interior Ministry, National Action Plan, certainly speaks volumes about their
Absolutely.
action.
In fact, Ashish, it's interesting considering it's a report which has been put together by the Interior Minister. It's been authorized by Nisar Chaudhry. All of this goes to show perhaps the amount that they are showing this infiltration of Pakistani funds, of the government funds into terrorist groups, maybe even more grave than this report is actually projecting.
Well, certainly, this just appears the tip of the iceberg. What India has submitted several times, be 2611, for that Dawood-related reports, Hafiz Saeed-related report, and then after that, and several dossiers have been submitted in which it has established the way India has been sending records, documents, locations, addresses, everything.
In fact, sorry to interrupt you, Ashish, do stay on with us. Major General Sheru Thapliyal is also joining us here on the phone line. General, what do you make of it? It's a huge blow to the claims of Nawaz Sharif government, and it is it's a report which has been prepared by its own Interior Ministry.
I think that is just a diversionary tactics, to put up the hands and say we can do nothing. I don't think they are all that helpless, which they are trying to portray themselves. So we shouldn't get sidetracked by all this, and we must continue with our efforts to get these fellows outlawed by the UN General Assembly. I mean, in spite of China's trying to... yes.
But General Thapliyal, that is the problem. India has gone to the global forum as well, named and shamed Pakistan, told the world what Pakistan has been doing. It has been exposed on the global forum. There's a lot of support coming in for India as well. But when it comes to the ground reality, nothing much seems to have changed. Pakistan is isolated, but it still continues its support.
I agree with you entirely. On ground, nothing much happened. For that, partly our own Pakistan policy is responsible. It is a flip-flop policy, Sometimes we try and be so nice to them, and sometimes we act tough. But when we act tough, we don't take measures to, tell Pakistan that we are angry with them.
Mm-hmm.
If you recall, after Udi attack, there was a talk that we will withdraw the MFN status and we will renegotiate the Indus River Water Treaty and those kinds of things.
But nothing happened.
Nothing happened. We haven't taken any action. So Pakistan feels that these fellows are just, blowing hot, blowing cold, and they carry on merrily with their activities.
Mm-hmm. But General Thapliyal, if Pakistan itself has admitted guilt, that it is not in a position to stop terror funding, it's not in a position to stop harboring terrorists, isn't there more of a reason for India to now push for Pakistan to be sanctioned?
See, by saying that, Pakistanis are only encouraging these fellows.
Mm-hmm.
And telling us that, look, these non-state actors, we can do nothing about them, so if they carry on with their terror strikes, the government in power or the Pakistan government is in no way responsible. So this is just a sort of a camouflage for their terror activities.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Major General Chaudhry Nisar, for joining us. Polomi Saha is also joining us with more on this. Well, Polomi, interesting developments there. Now, this is a report, and the significance of this report that it's been released by the Interior Ministry itself under Chaudhry Nisar. Also, we just had General Thapliyal who was telling us this is merely an eyewash. Pakistan putting its hands up in the air and saying that we can't do anything about it.
Claims are concerned in terms of Pakistan's own positioning across the world is concerned, because this is an internal report. This has been issued, a progress report on the National Action Plan, which has been issued by the country's Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar, who in fact has come in for a lot of criticism for not being able to curb down on terrorism and militancy within Pakistan. Pakistan itself is a victim of homegrown terror, and he has come in for criticism for the same, and now what he's done is basically put his hands up in this report and said that yes, we've not been able to do much in order to clamp down on terror in terms of clamping down on terror funding as well, which basically fuels these networks across the country, which victimize sometimes Pakistan itself, and of course definitely the neighborhood India is definitely a victim of these terror outfits, and Pakistan itself now admitting to the fact that it has not done much despite knowing of certain details as to where exactly these networks are getting their funding from, their support from, their refueling from, really.
Right.
But Pakistan has done nothing about the same.
Well, Polomi, do stay on with us. Shilkant Sharma is also joining us, the former Secretary General of SAARC. Well, Mr. Sharma, what do you make of this report which has been released by the Interior Ministry? Is this a way of Pakistan to shrug its shoulders and say, at the end of it, we really can't do anything much about these non-state terror actors?
No, this could be part of Pakistan's campaign to show itself as a victim and to window dress to the rest of the world to get its image improved, because the world now traces all kinds of terror activities in some way or the other to Pakistan. So just to cover that up, they want to say, well, we've been trying very hard and we cannot do that, and this is all, and to somehow the other appear to be very honest. Whereas the whole point is that if they are victims, they are because of their own doing. It is not that somebody else is doing this. It is they themselves. That's why they've allowed the JUD to mark completely unrestrained and all these terror organizations. So, given that that Hafiz Saeed moves freely and spews venom, and the others continue to do so, the Home Ministry to come out and say that, well, we have not been able to stop it, is just, it's too smooth, too smooth.
Especially since we know the kind of linkages that some of the topmost union ministers have with terrorist organizations and the terror chiefs. In fact, Mr. Sharma, do stay on with us. Lieutenant General Ravi Sahni is also joining us, the former DGMO. Well, General Sahni, your first analysis, your assessment of this report and the reasons behind this report.
I think Pakistan is an extremely complex, complicated country where one organ doesn't know what the other is doing. Now, you see, one organ of the government, and I would say quite a huge organ of the, segment of the government, encourages terrorism, finances terrorism, gives sanctuaries to the terrorists, and then the other sort of a organ, which is the Interior Ministry, which comes out with a report that they have not been able to curb it. So what do you make out of this? I think it is so hypocritical. It is, if it wasn't a horrible thing, then it could be laughable. Because you see, basically, the whole country knows, the whole world knows, everybody knows that they are, what do you call, training terrorists, they are financing terrorists, they know where they are, and then come out with this ridiculous type of a report, trying to, whitewash all the sins, is somehow just not acceptable. I mean, if they know that they have not been able to do something about it, then this Interior Minister should be also able to have some remedies. And remedies are not very complicated.
And General Sani, the Interior Minister is Chaudhry Nisar, someone who's known to have terrorist links.
I'm trying to say, look at the hypocrisy of the man, that he has been seen photographed in company of those hideous characters who have created terror not only for themselves, for their neighborhood, and then for them to claim so innocently that they are victims of terror.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is so terrible. These people should be condemned. They should be lampooned, and they should be made to understand that their capacity to bluff the world is finished now.
Many would say it's time to sanction Pakistan as well after the hypocrisy. Thank you so much, General Sani, for joining us. Shilkal Sharma also for joining us. And of course, Polomi for joining us on the show to break it down. It is hypocritical by any standards. So is it finally time to sanction Pakistan? Well, that's the question. But